A very warm greetings to all the viewers. My name is Bhanu Sharma. I am from Ambedkar Institute of Hotel Management, Chandigarh. We shall be doing a menu of advanced bakery and pastry from 5th semester of BSc Hospitality and Hotel Administration, a program run by National Council of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Our menu for the day is potato and herb loaf and donuts, and this is how we are looking forward our final product to look like. The basic learning outcomes for the viewer, what we are expecting to have by the end of the session are that the viewer shall be able to organize the mise en place for the above said products. The time management plays a very important role when it comes down to working with yeast leavened doughs. So the time management, especially while working with the doughs which are getting leavened by using yeast, prioritization of the steps as per the dough fermentation, and finally presenting the above said menu with proper garnishes and accompaniments. Here are the recipes for the said products. We won't go into deep discussing the recipes in itself. The major difference, if we can notice here, in potato and herb loaf and donut recipe is about the richness. Now, as we know that donut is a classical breakfast pastry. So all the pastries, doughs and bread doughs, the major difference is about the fat content and about the richness. If you can see here in the donut recipe, we have a lot of eggs, milk and butter in comparison to the bread dough. That is the major difference, as it is for 5th semester students. So I won't go into depth of the bread making process in itself. So let us start preparing the products. So here we have the ingredients scaled and measured for making both the products. These are the ingredients for the filling. Now we can have different variation in the filling also. The filling which I am going to do today is roasted potatoes. We shall be adding chili flakes, garlic, oregano, thyme, salt and olive oil to potatoes, and then it will go into the oven for roasting until these are nicely cooked and soft. After this, here we have the product scaled for the bread dough recipe: bread flour, yeast, sugar, salt, olive oil and water. And post this, for the donuts, as we discussed in the introduction, that it is a rich dough. So again, the ingredient will justify that also. We have a lot of butter, we have a lot of eggs, and here we have some milk to go into the dough. As I was talking about time management while working with the yeast leavened product, so how we are planning our work for the day is, firstly we'll go ahead with the filling. Once the filling has gone into the oven, we shall be starting with the bread dough. So let us start by preparing our filling. Here we have diced potatoes, salt, olive oil, chili flakes. So I personally like the bread fillings to be a little on spicier side, as these are to go in with the bread dough itself. So it will become a little mild while consumed with the bread. Here we have oregano and thyme. we are going to just mix everything together, put it in a baking tray, and put it in the oven for roasting. We have preheated our oven at 200 degrees centigrade, so it will take around 15 to 20 minutes for these potatoes to be nicely cooked and become soft, and then these will be ready to be added to the dough for final assembly of the bread. But we need to be very careful that any filling which is to be added to a bread dough has to come to room temperature before we do so, because temperature and yeast has a lot of interference. So the higher temperature, your yeast, at the higher temperature yeast might get deactivated. So make sure your fillings, whichever filling you are making for the breads, has to come to room temperature before it is added to your dough. So now our ingredients for the potato filling are mixed properly. I'm going to put it in a baking tray, spread it nicely over the tray to get even heat, and this is ready to go into the oven now. And we need to give it a mix twice or thrice during the process so that all the potatoes are evenly cooked. So maybe 5 minutes down the lane, I'm going to remix everything. So it is ready to go into the oven, which is preheated at 200 degrees centigrade. And the first timer I'm going to set is for 5 minutes, so that I come to know that 5 minutes are over and it is time to remix all the ingredients. We'll be starting to make the dough now. So ingredients already scaled here. Here we go with the refined flour. So we are doing a straight dough method where everything will go together, and apart from the fat content, which in this case in the bread dough is just olive oil, apart from the olive oil, I'm adding everything to the dough mixer. The only thing which need to be taken care of here is there should be substantial enough difference in the place where you add your salt and yeast. Yeast and salt should not come in direct contact, as we are aware that the salt deactivates the yeast. So on one side I've added salt, on the other side I've added yeast. Rest of the ingredient can go as per your requirement. There is no hard and fast rule. So here we go with the water. Everything at one go. And yes, in the beginning we will be only using the first gear, the low speed, and then we'll be speeding it up to speed 2 or speed 3. But in our case, our dough mixer has only 2 speed variations, so I'll be starting with speed 1. Once all the ingredients are mixed properly, I'll be shifting it to speed 2 till the time proper gluten formation has taken place. And all of us know how do we check it. We check it by window pane method. So I'll try showing you once again that how to make sure that gluten formation has taken place in the dough or not. So here we go. So now everything has almost come together. I will be shifting this speed to speed 2 now, and we'll be working with the dough till it reaches to proper gluten formation. Post that we are going to add olive oil, or for rest of the breads any fat content that has to go after the proper gluten formation has taken place. So I guess our dough is ready and the gluten formation has taken place. Let us check it out. So this is the window pane test. We take a small piece of the dough in our hand and we try to stretch it into a thin sheet, and it should actually get converted into a very thin and transparent sheet without getting torn apart. So as we can see, it has reached that desired level. So now I am going to add the fat, olive oil into it, and it again goes for further kneading. But once again, as you add fat to it, try reducing the speed once again to the lower levels, and then we can increase it once again for proper mixing of the fat into the dough. So I'm starting it again at speed 1, that is the lower speed. Once the oil is a little bit incorporated, I'll increase the speed to speed 2, and then I'll take the dough out. My dough shall be ready for further processing. So here we go, our dough is getting mixed. I'm going to restart it, but in the meanwhile our filling is also ready. So I'm going to take the filling out of the oven and leave it outside to reach to the room temperature. Here we go, the filling, it is ready, cooked, nice, soft, tender. So and at the same time, as we are using the same oven for the proving and baking purposes, I'm going to set it for the proving now, because our dough is almost ready and it is ready to go for the proving. So I'm setting it for proving now. Okay, the dough is ready. I'm just going to take it out. So here we go with the dough. I'm just trying to give it a smooth, sheeny surface, and then it will go to the proving. And as you can see, the oven cabinet is still cooling down for reaching to the proper temperature of proving. In the meanwhile, before I add this to the proving, we will start processing our donut dough. So let the oven cool down. By the time, let us begin with the donut dough now. So your bread flour, the same method we are going to use, everything together apart from the fat content. Yeast, taking care of the same precaution of not adding salt and yeast at the same side. So salt, sugar, and our liquid content, which is milk, and whole eggs. So these are 4 whole eggs here as per the recipe. The recipe on the display, which I showed in the PowerPoint presentation, was for 1 kg dough. This recipe we are using is for that recipe was for 1 kg of bread flour. The recipe we are using is of 500 grams bread flour. So here we start kneading the donut dough now. Never forget to reduce the speed down to the lower gears before the ingredients are mixed together. Otherwise there are a lot of chances of everything to be splashed around, especially the dry ingredients, and that may hamper your recipe also. It will it will disturb your working area also. Moreover, it can disturb the recipe also, especially when we have very small amounts of salt and sugar being added. So if 5 gram of salt has gone into the recipe and you started at gear speed 2, that salt got splashed out of the dough mixer, there won't be any salt left in the recipe. So I'm reducing it again to speed 1, and here I have started it. So this is working on speed 1. Our proving cabinet is ready for the dough. So I'm going to put our dough for the bench proving. Now what I expect the bench proving to do to the dough is, it must rise double to its size. So please have a rough look on it, and we'll be having a look at the final dough structure also once we take it out from the oven after bench proving. All right, so I'm putting it for proving now. So the donut dough here is also ready for addition of fat, that is, it has got kneaded, the gluten formation has taken place. Now I'm going to add soft butter to the dough, and as I said earlier, I'll reduce the speed to speed 1 and mix it for some time. Then I'll increase the speed to speed 2 once again. Okay, some initial mixing has taken place. Increase the speed to speed 2 and wait for the butter to be incorporated properly in the dough. So here our donut dough is also ready. The fat is properly incorporated. I'm going to take it out and put this dough also for bench proving. Now, as I discussed earlier, that bench proving is done till the whole dough reaches double to its initial volume. So whatever size the dough shall be having now, it shall reach double of that size. So preferably, we should be having a smooth stretched surface once we put our bread doughs for bulk fermentation. So bulk fermentation, bench proving are the terms which are used interchangeably. So here we go. Our donut dough is also ready, and I'm going to put it for proving. Here we have the other dough is still there in the proving chamber, and it is getting proved, and I'm adding donut dough also now. So our three basic elements for today's menu are donut dough, our bread dough, and potato filling. All three elements are almost ready. Potato filling is getting cooled down, and both the doughs are into proving cabinet. I'm just waiting for these doughs to double to its size. So once bench proving is over, we'll start with shaping of these products. First dough, the bread dough, is proved, and I'm sure all the viewers shall be clearly able to see that it has increased almost double to its initial volume. So we are going to take it out and degas it, but before that I'll dust my work surface a little so that the dough doesn't stick to the surface a lot. Here we go. So just giving it nice and tender folds, and as the name says degassing or knocking it back. So this is just to mix all the ingredients once again properly, because the yeast has consumed some of the sugar content which was there, and there is uneven aeration at this stage. So we have redistributed everything all together. The next step is to scale the ingredients as per the desired dough weight. So what I'm planning to do, I shall be making 3 loaves, and we'll do 2 variations. So making 3 loaves and then cutting one of those loaf to create another variation out of it. So I'm looking forward to have 3 250 grams pieces from this particular dough. Then we'll see, the leftover dough can always be used to make individual rolls also. So this is almost there, 245. This is also good, 245, and $250. So this is leftover. I shall be using it for some other products. So make it nice and round, leave it on the side. Just I'll start with the shaping, just pre-shaping this one a little and giving it some rest before I pre-shape the other two. So all I'm trying to do is give it a little rectangular shape, because that is the final desired shape for making the loaves. So this is what is called pre-shaping, and preferably if you are going to leave it for a very long duration like this, it should be covered. But as we are just going to work with it, I'm just start processing it further. So I'll sheet it into a rectangular form. If you have pre-shaped it with your hands in itself at earlier stages, that becomes a little easier for us to handle it later on once we start working with a rolling pin. So as we can see, our dough is nice and stretchy. It is getting nicely elongated. So once we try to get it removed from the work surface, you see it is shrinking back to its almost to its original size. This is also important while making some products. We will discuss it further once we start doing donuts, that what is the importance of shrinking your doughs before we finally shape it. In this case, it is not of much importance. So I'm almost there with the size I'm looking forward my dough to reach. Yes. Here I go, cutting down. Let us try to have a rough rectangle here. Even these trimmings of the dough can be used later on, so we don't have to discard these. These can be used for making other bread products. Here we have our potatoes. So let us have a good amount of potatoes being added, a even layer of potatoes. And then we start to fold the dough over it and make a roulade kind of structure out of it. The last end of the dough I have intentionally left uncovered. There are no potatoes there, because if there will be potatoes in that area also, your dough won't stick to the rest of the dough. So here we go. This is the initial shape of our loaf. So I'm going to place it here in the tray, and let us start with the next one. So I mean, initially I'm going to make the same shape out of all the 3 dough pieces, and then I'll try to convert the last one, the third one, into another variation. So we have a lot of scope here in this particular case when we talk about potato and herb rolls or loaf. You can have different shape and sizes of the loaf. Even you can have different types of fillings also. As I was speaking earlier that we here are doing a roasted potato filling. You can have a boiled potato filling as well, where you add all the seasoning and spices to boiled and mashed potatoes. I'm sure here you will be able to see that this piece of the dough has started to get stretched a little sooner than the earlier one, because rest plays a very important role. So this dough has rested more than the earlier one, so it is easily converted into a sheet. Now here we go with the potatoes. Nice even layer of potatoes once again, and start folding it over. So here we are with the second loaf, and now I'm going to start working with the third one. Lot of dusted flour on the work surface. Only add as much as is required for the smooth sheeting of the dough. The only role of this flour to be dusted on the work surface is for avoiding this dough to be sticking to the surface. So a lot of flour may lead to your bread getting dried up, because eventually all this flour is going to take moisture from your dough. So this is going to dry up your dough. Not too much of this dusted flour, just the amount that is required, just to make sure that your dough doesn't stick to the work surface. So we can see that recipe is exactly good enough. The amount of potatoes which were used are just good enough for the number of rolls we are going to, the number of loaf we are going to make. You may increase or decrease the amount of filling as per your own choice. But when you do a bread and you give it a name of potato and herb filling, you should not have to come and tell the guest that this is potato and herb filling bread. I mean, after having a bite or from visible appeal in itself, the consumer should come to know, okay, that this is the filling that is there. All I'm trying to say is there should be good enough amount of filling for letting the consumer know by just having a bite out of it that this is the bread I'm consuming. So now this is our third loaf. We are going to have a different variation. These two are going to go in the proving chamber just like that, and for this we are going to have a different variation. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slice the pieces out of it here and place it into the tray with the cross sectional area facing upward. I'll just do what I just said, and I'm going to dust my you can dust it also. It's better to have some oil lining on your baking tins. So I'm taking a 8 inches round aluminium baking pan, leaving some space in between. Soon I'll be showing you a focused view. I'm giving some space in between so that the bread has enough chance for expansion in there, because we all know that once it is going to get proved, the individual rolls are going to expand. So here I guess we can see that there is substantial amount of spacing in between the individual rolls, right? So both our rolls and the loaves are going to go into the oven. Now here I also want to say that we can have individual rolls out of it also. So these small rolls can be baked individual also, but as our syllabus says, potato and herb loaf, so this shall also get converted into a loaf, and these are loaves in itself already. So both of these are going to go into proving chamber now. So these are going to the proving chamber for final fermentation, and we can see here that our donut dough is still inside. It is not almost there, maybe like 10 minutes more, and then it will be ready for its shaping. So another 5-10 minutes for the processing of donuts here. So here, as we can see, that our donut dough has also risen to double its initial size. We are going to knock it back and start shaping the donuts while our bread is still in proving. So that was the knocking back and degassing process for the donuts. Now I'm going to sheet it into a sheet around maybe half a centimeter thick, and cut it into proper shape. Then further it will go for the proving. Once proved, we are going to frying the donuts. This is one advantage that I see in preparing donuts, that we don't require any oven in case of donuts as in case of most of the bakery products. So these can be very easily prepared at household levels also, even without having a oven. So this is a advantage with the donuts. Now if you see, as I was talking about shrinkage earlier, now this dough is sticking to the surface a little. If I don't release this dough from the surface and I start cutting roundels out of it, once I cut that roundel and then remove it from the surface, it will shrink back. So we won't get perfect round donuts. Those will be rather oval in shape. So I'll try to release it from the surface once, and then I'll sheet it a little further because it is still a little thick from the consistency, from the thickness which is actually desired. And it's also important to have an even thickness so that all the products look and weigh the same. Now we are almost done. I'm going to once again release it from the surface and start shaping these. So you see, this was the initial surface area which it was covering, the dough was covering, and now once I released it, it has shrunk back to a smaller size. So I'm trying to get it released from all around, just feeling the thickness. If I'm finding that it is a little thick from any corner, I'm just trying to press that side a little with hands so that we have a even thickness all around. Very good. Now the donuts has to be fried, so there has to be ample amount of dusting on this tray where we are going to place it, because on later stages we are going to pick these up and put it into a fryer, so we don't want the dough to stick to the tray. Otherwise, while releasing donuts from the tray at that moment, we might end up spoiling the shape. So heavily dusted tray is required, and now we're going to cut it out. So first I'm going to cut it with the bigger cutter. Now here also, as we can see, that there is some what we can say that trimmings are getting formed here. So these trimmings can be rested again, and these can be sheeted. We can further make more donuts out of it, or we'll soon come to know that what else can be done with it. I'm just trying to extract out as many as possible. I am not sure that we'll get this one also, but all right, we got. So now I'm going to cut these center parts. We are even going to use these. We'll fry these also, and we'll see that how these can be served on buffets again. Here we go. Now pick these up carefully and try maintaining the shape. Even if you deform the shape a little while picking these up, try pushing it back to its original shape with the help of your fingers gently. And do remember that we don't have to place these too close to each other, as we know that we are going to prove these will undergo further fermentation. So Of course these will expand in size a little more from here. Rather I'll straight away put it into the proving itself. And as we must be able to see that we already have our bread which is in proving. It's rising nicely. It still needs some more time. We'll be doing a little further processing in this case also with the bread, but let's finish the donut part first. Once donuts goes to the proving, we'll come back to the bread part. And with these small roundels, I'm going to put these also for proving. So let's see how these rise and what we can do with these. Any variation in size of the product can have different proving times, but I'm still putting these donuts along with these smaller pieces. What I'll do, I'll try to remove these smaller pieces earlier and let these bigger donuts undergo full fermentation then. I mean, the smaller one shall prove earlier and these will take some more time. Even this rest of the dough which is there, it can also be cut down and we can place these also. And even after that, whatever is left over, that can again be rested for some more time, and then we sheet that again and we can shape this into more donuts. But as of now, I'm trying to extract out how much ever is possible from this sheeted surface. Always remember to leave some space in between to allow proper scope for expansion in size. And this is the leftover dough. I'm just trying to mix it up together, give it a smooth surface and leave it aside for resting for some time. Okay, so here the dough nuts have gone into proving. With the bread, the one we made in the round tin, we won't do much with that. We will let that prove. And with this one, we'll try to give some scoring pattern on top. It's completely optional. If you want, you can give these patterns. If you don't, you can bake these like this also. So what I'll do, I'll give pattern on one and I'll leave one like that itself. So these have to be nice, sharp, smooth slits, taking care that we don't disrupt the structure of the loaf a much. Okay, so we are just waiting for our products to get proved properly, and then we'll start with the further processing. So here we have our potato and herb roll. It is properly proved now, so it is ready for baking. But before I bake it, we are going to apply some milk wash over it. Again, we do have an option of having a milk wash or egg wash, so I'm just using milk wash here. But while applying milk wash, again utmost care has to be taken. Rather, with any proved product, a lot of care has to be taken that you don't over handle it. Otherwise, whatever aeration has been incorporated, there are chances that it might get released from the dough, and later on your bread will not rise much. So whatever rise is there in volume right now also, it can go back and your bread can flatten up, and the final volume of the bread shall also be comparatively less. So little milk wash before I put it into baking. I have already preheated my oven at 200 degrees centigrade. So this bread is ready to go into the oven for baking, and it will take around maybe 9 to 10 minutes at 200 degrees centigrade. You also must have noticed that earlier I was using the same cabinet as a proving cabinet also. So we had put the donuts also there. So I have just shifted my donuts to another proving chamber because I'm using this for baking the breads now. So by the time bread is getting baked, our donuts shall also get proved. So then we'll start processing the donuts further. So here we are ready with the proving of donuts. We are about to start frying our donuts, but before that our bread is ready in the oven. So I'm just going to take it out and give it a oil wash. So here we have both the breads. This is olive oil. I'm going to get a nice wash, and we do it when the bread is still hot, so that this the fat, whatever fat we are using, it can be butter, it can be olive oil, it is getting nicely absorbed into the loaves, or for that matter for any bread. So now I'll leave these undisturbed for some time. Let it at least come to room temperature before I move these or remove it from the molds. So I'm putting it back into my tray rack here. And I'll start processing donuts. So now be very careful and pick the donuts up very gently, and make sure you don't deform the shape while picking these up. And this is what I'm trying to do here. So the oil temperature plays also a very important role. The temperature should be very moderate. If the temperature is too high, there are chances that your donut might get a lot of color from outside, but the center is still raw. And at lower temperatures, we all know that anything that is fried at a lower temperature might end up with a lot of absorbed oil into it. So moderate temperature, and gently just release it into So that is it, 5 or 6 at a time, because we can still see that some expansion is taking place here. So we need to give enough space for the expansion that is going to take place here at frying levels also. So here we have the fried donuts. I'm just removing it from the oil and leaving these into perforated pans to allow any excess oil to drip down in the tray underneath. And this is the last lot I'm going to add in, and then I'll be frying the individual rounders in the pretty same manner. So here we are ready with our fried donuts and small dough balls. Now I'll be doing 3 different variations: white chocolate, dark chocolate and cinnamon sugar. So let us start with white chocolate. I'm just going to dip the donut halfway through, shake off the excess chocolate and leave it on a cooling rack. Now I'll do some dark chocolate ones. and I'll be piping these with alternative color chocolates. So on the dark chocolate one, I'm going to have the white piping. On the white chocolate one, I'm going to have the dark piping. So this is the white chocolate piping. And this is the dark chocolate piping. So the chocolate ones are ready. Now I'm going to coat some with cinnamon sugar. Now I'll remove it from here, and we are going to plate these. So here we are finished coating donuts with different toppings. I'm just going to place these neatly on a platter, and let us see how these look here. So the white chocolate ones, then the dark chocolate ones. Now the ones with the cinnamon sugar. And at last, the dough balls, what we made using the trimmings. So we have the same coating of cinnamon sugar on the last two kinds. So the dough balls and the last type of donuts have the cinnamon sugar coating. So here we are ready with our menu, the potato and herb loaf. So here we are ready with our menu. These are 3 types of donuts, 1 type of donut balls, and potato and herb loaf. Thank you very much for viewing this video session. I'm sure we have fulfilled the objectives discussed in the beginning of the introductory session, and I'm sure the viewers shall be able to replicate the complete menu on your own now. Thank you very much for viewing the session once again. Thanks a lot.